And then
Okay.
what kind of account should we set up if I'm not the guardian, but my child still needs help with finances? Well, you should, regardless of whether you're the guardian or not, if your child is going to receive an SSI benefit, Social Security will require that you have a separate bank account. You cannot commingle those funds with your personal funds. So what you would need to do, and could do whether you're the guardian or not, because you're still the parent, is just set up a joint bank account. So
Okay.
that's my recommendation, and that you would set up a joint bank account. It's going to be, you can go to the bank and tell them what you're wanting to do. It most likely would have your child's name first and then your name second. It would be in his or her Social Security number. They'd also have your Social Security number. But then that allows both of you to, in a sense, manage the account, access the account. That's what I've done on behalf of the three people for whom I've been a representative payee. So I want to talk about what that is here in a minute and see if
Well,
I
I
can
have a quick
find that.
question for you then, because
Yes.
so Andy and I, for example, have a joint account that he's been getting direct deposit into for work, and he spends that money on, whatever he wants, right? And he saves some of it, and puts some of it, he ends up, using some of it to put into his ABLE account. But, when they asked us for an account at the Social Security office, I said, does he need a different account from that one so that the funds are separate? And they said they said just to put everything in the same account. But that made me nervous, because I said, I want to make sure that I'm tracking this money very specifically, that he gets from Social Security, or from SSI, not Social Security. I should correct that.
Very
So,
good, Stephanie. Very good. Very good.
so with this money he gets from SSI, it sounds like it is better to open a different account.
Well, actually, I'd be with the Social Security claims rep. I've always had the same account, Stephanie, and I've done this since 1980 for three different people. I've always had one account. Any money that they earned went into that account. Any money they got from the Social Security Administration went into that account. And it's not that hard to track either. Well, in 1980, we still wrote checks. So you had checks, right? You still wrote checks. But here in 2018, you have online banking. I mean, you have ways to track what the money's been spent on. So I would agree with the Social Security representative. I think it makes it more complicated to have two separate accounts, and you don't have to.
This is something to point out, that we do charge rent. So then the rent is paid from him to us.
That's correct. That's correct. And then you can do whatever you want to with that rent. You could put it in his ABLE account, or you could use it to help pay your household expenses, Stephanie, or you could put it in a third-party special needs trust or buy some life insurance with it. I mean, it's, and we'll come back to that whole fair share and why he needs to be paying you rent in order to get the full federal benefit. So let me just talk here briefly about representative payee. So when you all applied, Stephanie, Andy doesn't have to have you as representative payee, because by having that joint bank account, you obviously can help him manage it. For the people that I've been in that role for, though, I'm not a family member, Stephanie, and also we don't live together. So I went to social when I took on this role in their life, and I had to complete a form with Social Security saying I'm applying to be their representative payee. So I don't know when you applied for benefits for Andy if they asked you about this or not. I really think for young adults, if they're able to some extent to manage their own funds and you've got the joint bank account, they could be their own payee. But there are circumstances where the person really and truly, they just really are truly incapable of managing the money, and you might be, the advantage of being their representative payee, Stephanie, is that Social Security will talk to you. So if you're not Andy's representative payee and you want to call Social Security about it, they will not talk to you. I guess I would call it designation, for lack of a better term. You do not have to be the person's guardian or power of attorney or a family member to be a representative payee. You can say, see, generally we look for family or friends to serve as representative payees. Now, in all the people that I've served in that role for, I have either been their legal guardian, or for Linda, I am her power of attorney. But that doesn't make me her representative payee. So is that clear? It's a separate role between you and the Social Security Administration. So see, if you are a representative payee, you can complete the representative payee accounting report online. Essentially, the report, Stephanie, is very general. It states how much funds Social Security through either SSDI or SSI has paid to the beneficiary, to Linda, in my situation. And then just ask me a question. So how much of that did you pay on, I think, like room and board and food and shelter? And so I have a way to account for that. That's pretty simple and straightforward. I mean, I know
Oh,
how
so
much I pay for
this is
rent.
where you do that?
Yeah, I mean, in other words, there's going to be a report, but I mean, I just create an Excel spreadsheet and I know how much I pay for rent and I know how much I pay for cable each month. And frankly, maybe Social Security wants you to keep the receipts from Kroger's, but they fade. So in other words, you've got what Andy's paying you in room and board. Well, that's what would go in that line. So if he's paying you $300 a month or $400 a month, so he's multiply that by 12, that's $4,800 a month. And then there's another line about, what you've spent the rest of the money on. And so again, I think if you just keep some kind of an Excel spreadsheet accounting, you can do it, you can just
Okay,
kind of
so
track
you
it.
don't, because I do have a friend who's been keeping all of those receipts in an envelope in her purse, so we don't need to do that.
Well, I've never had to produce them. I can just say that, Stephanie. I've been filling these forms out since 1980, right? I've got the bank records.
Right.
And so, see, what I have actually for Linda that makes it very easy for me is I bank at PNC Bank here in Kentucky. And PNC Bank has a wonderful feature, a wonderful tool called a Smart Access card. So the Smart Access card, again, is on our joint account. Linda has one, I have one. And it works as a debit card, except it's not a debit card. Like, you couldn't take her Smart Access card and go withdraw money out of her bank account. But she takes it to Kroger's, okay? So she takes it to Kroger, she takes it to Frisch's, that's how she pays for everything. I go in every day and I look at her Smart Access card and I see where she spent money. And then if she needs more money, I load more money onto it. So the Smart Access card gives me actually a record of, I don't have to save receipts. It's all right there online. So it's a really simple form. But from my perspective, my banking records provide that for me. Now
they're not supposed to really save any of it, right?
Pardon me?
They're not really supposed to save anything.
Well, you can save if you go back to the SSI. I mean, you can have up to $2,000, okay, in a given month.
But just no more than that, $2,000.
No more than that. And if you're going to be getting $750 at the first of the month, you wouldn't want to have $2,000 in the bank and then let that $750 hit, because then you're $2,750. Do you see? Now, in terms of should we have a rental agreement and what should be in it, I think that's a really wise decision. I think, again, because of self-determination more than anything, that's really the real world. If Andy didn't live with you, he'd live someplace else, correct? And there would be a rental agreement. And so I don't know I don't have a form. I think one could just construct one, in this situation, in terms of what the expectations are of, and what you're going to pay. And depending on your son or daughter, there might be issues related to smoking, non-smoking in the household. There might be other issues, about that you would want to include because you're expecting a certain level of behavior. I don't think you would have to have a typical lease agreement like you might if you were renting an apartment, but that also might be a good way to teach your son or daughter about what all would be involved were they to become, renting someplace else. So I think you could construct one yourself, or I think you could get one from an apartment complex and see how much of that you would want to incorporate into it. And you determine rent, again, what I said before, it's really based on what the actual costs are. So what are the costs? And then you divide that by the number of people in the household. That accessible rental agreements for people with intellectual disabilities, parents who can't read legalese. I don't know of any, but that would be a great thing for somebody to come up with. So
I did end up getting one emailed to me, and I want to find out where it originally came from to give the person proper credit, because I'd love to share that, just because that was one of the challenges we were having is we were finding all these agreements, and we did fill it out, but it just didn't feel completely fair to have him sign something that was written in such elevated language that he was unable to read it independently. So I really wanted something that was more accessible.